Hello and welcome to class number 20 of the UPSC Mains Answer Writing Initiative. This is the 20th consecutive class. We have not taken any off. I told you on the very first day, the more regular you are, the more regular I will be. So I'm glad to see a lot of you have been writing answers, have been trying to improve your answer writing skills and have been a regular in this series every single day at 7 p.m. If you are new here, we are trying to make answer writing easier for you. We are trying to take that fear of answer writing out of your mind. How do we do that? By solving a previous year question and then giving you homework and requesting you to try and write an answer. Also, I'll be happy to check your answer and give you a feedback. You can mail that on my email ID. If you want PDF of these lectures, you can join the Telegram channel. The link I'm giving in the description of this video. And please make sure that you stay updated with all these classes. Now, if you're new here and you don't know how to start answer writing, how to make an answer, I would really advise you check out the link of the playlist that I've given in the description of this video. That's a playlist of all the 20 classes that we have done so far. Go to class number 1. In the first class, we have discussed about how to structure an answer, how to write the introduction, main body, conclusion, what points to write, what not to write. So you can get an idea from there and then you can come back. Now let's see what is it that we will be doing today. The question that we are taking up is from GS2 from Indian Polity. The question is, account for the legal and political factors responsible for the reduced frequency of using Article 356 by the Union government since 1990s. If you are at a stage where you can write this answer, I would advise you to pause this video right now, write an answer from your own mind and see if you are able to write that in the next 8 to 9 minutes. Usually you should aim to complete your answer in 8.5 minutes at max, because that is the amount of time that you will get in the examination as well. If you don't have any idea how to write this, don't worry, we are here for you to help you out. So the question is about Article 356. When you read Indian Polity, almost every teacher will tell you, you don't have to remember all the article numbers. It's not possible to remember all the article numbers. The important ones you will remember by yourself. The reason being that the important article numbers will reappear so many times that you will start remembering them by yourself. For example, Article 356 is something that all of you would remember. Article 356 is about President's rule or the state emergency. So the idea is, the question is saying since 1990s, the frequency of President's rule or state emergency in India has reduced. So tell us what are the legal and political factors behind it. These are the two things that they're asking you. So in the main body, you'll have to write about the legal factor. Legal factors, for example, would mean what? Mainly the Supreme Court or the High Court judgments. What has the Supreme Court or High Court said that has led to reduction in President's rule being imposed? And then political factors, basically what has changed in our politics. For example, there is a rise in coalition governments. Because of coalition governments, at the center we have multiple parties running the government together. So all of them will have to agree if they have to impose President's rule or not. These are some of those initiatives or some of those developments that have led to reduction in the President's rule. So this is what you have to write, basically. Political pointers and then legal pointers. Let's start with the introduction first. So introduction will be very simple. In the intro, just define Article 356. Because the question itself has not defined it. If the question itself would have defined Article 356, then there was no need. But since the question does not define what is Article 356, you will first define it. That is, this is written in Article 356 and then you will go on to the main body. So the introduction is very simple. Article 356, also called as the President's rule, is to be used for emergency provisions only. However, it has been used multiple times. In fact, very famously, Dr. Ambedkar had called it the dead letter. Dead letter means he also thought that it will never be used. But it has been used over 100 times. In the history of India, right now, there are only 2 states that have never had a President's rule because they are new states. One is Telangana, formed in 2014 only, and other is Chhattisgarh, that came into being in the year 2000. These are the only 2 states that have never had an instance of president's rule. All other states have had instance of president's rule. There have been over 100 times that this has been used. Now, this is the introduction, that is Article 356. Then you have to give a connecting line. Connecting line can be that in the past few decades, that is starting from 1990s, we have seen a decline in the frequency of president's rule due to multiple reasons. And then you come to the main body. Now, in the main body, as I said, you have to write the legal reasons, that will be the cases in the court, and then the political reasons. So let's talk about the legal reasons. When you read about president's rule, the first case that all of you read about in L. Shrikant book is the Bomai case, the SR Bomai case. The Chief Minister of Karnataka, who was angry that his government was being removed, even though his government was in majority. It was in 1994, the SR Bomai case, that the Supreme Court said president's rule cannot be imposed just on the will of the union government. There have to be reasons behind it. And since then, imposition of president's rule has become less and less frequent. Supreme Court, in fact, in 1990s also regarded federalism as a part of the basic structure. The basic structure doctrine came up in 1973, but as you know, the court has expanded it from time to time. From time to time, new things have been added. Thus, the Supreme Court has added the definition of federalism to basic structure. Thus, since federalism cannot be taken away, union government cannot just remove the state government just because they want. There has also been commissions that have come up in this regard, suggesting changes in the president rule, like Sarkaria Commission, that talked about how the president rule should not be imposed by the central government whenever they want. There have been cases such as the Rameshwar Prasad case, where the Supreme Court has struck down president's rule proclamation. There have been multiple such instances where the Supreme Court has called the government back, where the central government dismissed the state government, saying that we are imposing president rule, although they had the majority. The Supreme Court has called back the government. It has happened in multiple cases, Arunachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand. There are multiple such examples. These are some of the legal factors that have led to reduction in the instances of president's rule. Then the political factors, the biggest one being governments at the center. There has been a rise in coalition governments. So earlier, for example, let's say in the center there is, let's assume the ruling government is BJP. Let's say they want to impose president's rule in a state that is ruled. Let's say they want to impose president's rule in, let's assume, Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu ruled by DMK. If DMK is supporting BJP at the center, obviously they will not impose president's rule here. So with the rise in coalition governments, these coalition governments ensure that without the smaller parties or regional parties agreeing, president's rule will not be imposed. This has been possible because of the rise of regional parties. The number of regional parties in India has increased, they have become stronger, and that is also why we have seen instance of president's rule declining. Also, the reason that president's rule is not that frequent now is when you see a decline in single party. So till 1980s, Congress used to be the dominant party. With the decline of the Congress, regional parties coming up, that means in the Rajya Sabha, you don't have a majority of any single party. The composition of Rajya Sabha is such that they come from the states, and the parties that are ruling the states, they will send majority of the members in the Rajya Sabha. So Rajya Sabha is composed in such a manner that you do not see any single party getting the majority in the Rajya Sabha. That also becomes difficult, or makes it difficult, for this proclamation of president rule to be passed in the Rajya Sabha, and thus it has become less and less frequent. Then there are roles of president and the governor. President in some cases have been extremely active in not accepting this advice of the central government when they thought that there is no reason for president's rule. Nowadays it's difficult to imagine, but there was time when the presidents did not really take all the advice of the central government on its word. Even in the case of governors, there are some governors who do not function just because the central government wants them to function in some manner. There have been examples that you can give here. 1990-91, Governor of Tamil Nadu refused to send a report to the central government suggesting imposition of president rule. Although central government wanted this. Similarly, K.R. Narayanan, when he was a president, he returned president rule's recommendation for Uttar Pradesh. So these are some examples which have led to decrease in instance of president's rule. This is what the question was. We'll just conclude it by summarizing it. We don't have to give a way forward because there's no question as such being asked. You can write about how the reduced frequency is because of the intricate and the complex making of India's political system and legal system. It has led to preservation of federalism and thus preserving our democratic values in the long run. Pretty easy, straightforward question. If you have read Indian polity, you should be able to answer that very, very, very comfortably. On that note, let me give you a homework. This homework is again from GS2. Discuss the contribution of civil society groups for women's effective and meaningful participation and representation in the state legislatures in India. Interesting question. Again, you have to write about women representation in the state legislatures in India. It was asked in 2023. Again, I tell this every single time and I'll tell this once again. If you don't know what to write in these answers, you can search online if you want certain data. But please make sure you write in your own language eventually. Don't copy it because that will not help you out. Right now you're at a stage where you have to just get into the practice of answer writing. So even if you don't have enough content, for example, you want to search how many women legislators are there in different states, which state has the most women legislatures. If you want to search that, go ahead, there is no problem. As long as you are writing it in your own language. Because if you don't write in your own language, just copy paste, then you're not learning anything. So please do that. If you want, I can check your answers as well. You can send me here and a lot of you have been sending it. Again, if you want the PDF of these lectures, become a part of our Telegram channel. The link is in the description of the video. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Jai Hind.